Over 2 decades of sports radio dominance in Utah.
My favorite.
This is DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, time to spend a few minutes with Jason Kreis, President of Soccer Operations for Real Salt Lake. Jason, good morning.
Good morning, DJ. How are you?
Good. I have so many questions. You are the right guy at the right time, Jason.
Ooh, okay. Let's go. Fire away.
Inquiring minds want to know, when you move a player like Gozo, like how long did those talks happen? Behind the scenes, when did you know it was going to happen? Did it get nerve-wracking at any point? Did you try to talk him into staying? What can you tell us?
All of those answers are yes. Yeah, it's obviously not a short process when something like that happens. Crystal Palace also being a partner club of ours with some shared ownership, they had expressed interest fairly early on at the same time as another Premier League club was talking to him. They at the time seemed an advantageous one because they were quite open to taking him in the winter when we really wanted to push the transaction too. At the last minute, things changed. They got a new coach on board, and their new coach wanted Gozo in immediately. Obviously, the player was keen to go as soon as he could. He wanted to be there for preseason to give himself the best chance to get into that first team and to have an effect, immediately. So there was a lot of things that lined up, I would say, in a very positive way to tip the hands towards doing the deal now. Not the least of which was the significant transfer fee that we were able to receive. So obviously bittersweet, bitter from the point of view that we lose a player that was contributing in a massive way towards our successes this year, but sweet because it is a huge win for our club, for our academy, for our coaches, for our community, and for our state even, to have a kid that comes from the Salt Lake area, Utah, able to now play in the Premier League is a success story, massive success story. So in the end, it was a decision that we had to make.
Is the reported $15 million fee accurate?
I'm not going to comment on that.
When you get money, whatever the number is, when you get money like that, how and when does that get reinvested in the club?
Well, I think first and foremost, it needs to be an understanding that our academy and our development system is a very, very expensive venture for our club. And as I said, so this being a massive success story for that, and we're able to say we can recoup some of that money when we are able to sell players. The other way to recoup that money is the more probably a little bit less obvious one is having players contribute in big ways for our first team. So we think we've had enough success stories to continue the march and continue our identity of being a developmental club. But then, the other obvious piece is that we need to add players now. So we've got another couple of weeks left in the transfer window. Herd and his recruitment department have been working extremely hard to try to bring in some players to take up the contributions that we lose in Gozo. And the idea is that if we can add multiple players, starting level players, then we could in fact have strengthened our team. That's our objective right now.
I am aware, and I'm sure you are too, that there are many soccer experts spread across our community. Some are in the fan base, some are in the media, some are actually working for the club. Who knew? And they prioritize the positions differently, looking for strikers, looking for a defensive midfielder, looking for obviously someone to go specifically into the wingback role where Gozo was. And there have been major injuries across the back line as well. How do you prioritize all of that? You did mention multiple players, so I'm assuming you've seen some of this and have a little bit of a ranking in your mind here.
Yeah, and again, this is really Kurt's world, but I can try to interpret his mind for you if you'd like.
Please.
And I think obviously we as leadership have opinions as well that go into these decisions. But the obvious one is the right wing back position. Zach stepped into that role in the day that Gozo kind of stepped out of it, and I think did an unbelievable job. So we were all feeling really good about that. And then he goes down with what looks to be a 6 to 8 week injury. And so we feel like we definitely going to need somebody in that position. There's the other obvious thing to think about is the offensive contributions we were getting out of Gozo, whether he was playing wingback or when he played in one of the 10 positions or even the 9 position. he's adding goals and assists, and so we're looking for a player that can also do that. And then we are I've started to think about now just initial thoughts on center back, as Justin Glad is out a little bit longer term, and so we feel like there's a need for that as well. So, I guess priority might be wing backs first, attacking player, and center back sort of probably a 1 and 2B.
Yeah. Do you have a timeline for Justin Glad's injury? Because I've heard that timeline's been readjusted a couple times. Maybe originally people thought he'd be back by now, and apparently he isn't that close, although maybe you have new information.
No, it's one of those really difficult situations to even get a proper identification on what the injury has been. Initially, as you said, we thought he would be back after the World Cup break. And then we got to the coming back after the World Cup break, and he was still experiencing pain. And so we've had, 2 to 3 times where we've started to ramp him up, and then the pain level has been too high. And so now he's in very much a rest mode for a couple of weeks, and then I think it's going to be another 8 weeks on top of that. So this is a couple of months more until we see him back on the field.
Is there a timeline for Emeka Eneli returning?
Yeah, Emeka's right around the corner here. I think he's supposed to return into full training next week.
You've got a game coming up with Leon, and for people who are new to soccer, the multiple competitions and how you prioritize them it's completely foreign to someone who follows, Major League Baseball or the NFL or whatever. How do you rank these? How important is a game in Orlando on Saturday in MLS play versus the game Tuesday against Leon in the League's Cup? How and why do you prioritize those games?
Well, I think when you start to think about the sport of soccer, it is different than other sports, and that it is very much an endurance sport, and it takes multiple days to recover, and oftentimes, seeing 3 games in a 6-day period as we're in right now is an impossible ask. And so, yes, you are forced into a situation where you have to prioritize games. And for us to be in a quarterfinal of this League's Cup with the opportunity to come out of this tournament and say that for this tournament we were the best team in the U.S. and Mexico is a rare opportunity. So we are certainly going to prioritize that over a league game. Although I think it's not as easy a decision as that, because right now we have faltered a little bit in our standings in the league, and we need to be wary of that as well.
To what do you attribute the faltering over the last 5 or 6 MLS games?
It's difficult to say, really difficult to say, because it's probably a little bit too easy and basic to try to loop them all together. I think you have to kind of go one by one and say what has been the issues. I think coming back immediately after the break and going on a really difficult road trip at LAFC in Portland was challenging. And certainly I think we've had our challenges with teams that play a certain way against us, and that's the teams that sit back and counterattack and do it very effectively have given us trouble. And Dallas was a team that did the exact same as that. So we have to consider sort of, how we're going to succeed against those teams as we move forward, because certainly we will see it in the final piece of the season and going into the playoffs. But I would also say that in all of the games, we have had some really positive things come out of them. So, the mindset's still there. The ability to create and score goals is still there. It's a little bit about, I think it's a little bit about focus as we're going through, and it's the hottest part of the season, and typically a part where you do have some downturn before we get to the final push here.
Want to circle back to where we started. I introduced you as president of soccer operations, and it goes back to sports are different, right? You don't just have a team. You also have a second team in the Monarchs that can act as a development/minor league team. And then you've got the whole academy. So there's so many players at so many levels trying to make progress. It needs someone over all of that. And I'm curious for these the stories we've seen where, certainly Gozo's just a spectacular success story. But Zach Booth he's from Eden, Utah, and he was looking very intriguing before his injury. He was doing some stuff that was opening eyes for sure in the fan base. But maybe you knew that because you got to see him develop along the way. How many more guys do you have who could open eyes and intrigue fans that way who are in the pipeline?
Well, quite a few. I would say, obviously, we have the U16, the U18 team, and we have the Monarchs. I would say that in each of those teams, we've got 2 to 3 players that we feel like could be major contributors for us over the next 4 to 5 years. So, we feel really, really good about what the work we're doing in the developmental space. We say the developmental space, we're talking about a mixture of the 16s, 18s, and the Monarchs. All of those for us are considered developmental teams. Absolutely. I mean, let's not forget about Aiden Hezerkani, who at the beginning of the season scored a couple of goals and had some really incredible contributions. Nico Moisa as well. So let's talk about that a little bit, victory issue, really these issues, but I think there's no reason why they couldn't become major contributors for us over the last part of the season.
Major League Soccer is about to flip its season. We'll have a full season here and crown a champion, playoffs in November and December, and then a little break, and then there'll be a thing called a sprint season, about 14 games and a playoff, and then the new full season will start, and you'll begin to play on the European calendar where the season starts in the summer and wraps up in May. And I'm curious, I've started to read that some MLS teams are prioritizing winning during that sprint season, and others may use it as an extended preseason and use it for development and not worry about winning. I assume you've had some conversations along those lines. What are you thinking about for that, for RSL and that sprint season early in 2027?
Well, I would say that I can't imagine a time where I could answer a question to you and tell you that we wouldn't be worried about winning. I don't think that that's going to exist for us. I think we're going to look at every opportunity and say, what is our not motivation, but what is our modus operandi to get ourselves to a place where we can win. And I think, from a team building perspective, I would be looking at the teams that are really thinking about a major transition, teams that are having to do a major rebuild. Those would be the teams that I would think would look at that sprint season and say, okay, we're not going to go out and sign any more players right now. We're going to work with our young players for the sprint season, and then we're going to sign players in the summer transfer window. I don't think that's us. I think that we've got a strong enough core of veteran players to lead us to go after things in that sprint season. So that's how I see us right now.
And I would think that even for the young players who are developing, if the goal isn't winning, then the pressure isn't there, and how much developing is really being done, right?
Yeah, that's 1,000% correct, and that's exactly how we have to always consider our Monarchs team. It can be a challenge. You have to mix the two, but if there's not a culture of we want to win every game, then you're not developing players the right way either.
Yeah. Well, Jason, we appreciate the time. In a few minutes, I'm not going to press you for what the lineup's going to look like in Orlando. I just think it has to look really, really different because it looked like there were some very heavy legs out there in the last couple games. Guys have been giving their all, but the needle might be getting near empty for a few of them.
I think that's a fair comment, DJ.
All right. Thanks, Jason. We appreciate it. We'll look forward to seeing what that lineup looks like tomorrow night.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. There's Jason Kreis. Multiple topics right there. He was good on everything except he didn't want to confirm $15 million. I didn't want to lose my sportscaster license. I felt like I had to ask. He didn't want to lose his president and chief operations license. He didn't want to answer. The dance must be done. I don't think there's more Gozos in the organization because that is such a high bar and such a high level. You could be a really good player and not have the potential Gozo has. Pablo Mastroeni has been using words like unicorn. Just for the sheer number of sprints at the level he does, how quickly they come together in a game. Like somebody might have a sprint and might have another one, 5 minutes later. And like Gozo's just stacking 3 of them on top of each other. He moved not just because of what he was doing, but because of the potential. There just seems to be so much more upside. But soccer's a brutal game, and who knows how long a chance he gets. They're There are clubs that players invest in and give multiple chances, and there's plenty of stories in soccer about, you got a week to 10 days. You didn't look good in training, we're going to loan you out. And then the story, and I think this is changing a little, but I don't think it's changing a lot. You go over there, and it's like, I'm not here to help you. You're going to take my job. I mean, that always exists in sports, right? Now, there are places where there's a little, that's not quite as harsh. There's still a little bit of, you're an American? Please. I think that's getting broken down. Landon Donovan faced that, 20 years ago now probably. And it's definitely changed, but I also don't think it's completely gone away. Super intriguing to follow Gozo going forward. When they moved Andres Gomez, it didn't work out for him in France. He's now playing, I think he's in Brazil, last I heard. But it was going pretty well for him in Brazil. So you got to move around, find your niche. And that's where soccer is similar to other sports. There's plenty of NBA players who get to their third team and then they really settle in. And you look and they bounced around a little early on. So it'll be intriguing to see what happens for Gozo. But the academy's working. It's, originally it was good at producing defensive players. Justin Glad's the best example. But there are plenty of other good players who played for them. But attacking players, they're harder to develop. They're harder to find. They get paid more money because supply and demand, there's fewer of them. And Gozo, he was having a big impact from a position that's a little more defensive-minded. You don't expect 6 goals and 5 assists in half a season out of a young player in a wingback role. But he produced, and that's why he's in England now. All right, thanks to Jason for coming on. When we come back, Kevin Graham's talking NFL football. We'll talk about some development of some young guys, see if we can find some sleepers for your fantasy team, and development of teams, because in the NFL, you can go from worst to first in a heartbeat. It happens all the time. It's not going to be the same old, same old. It's going to be different. We'll talk with Kevin about that coming up. Stay with us.
Nobody brings you better coverage of the teams you're passionate about than these guys.
Try some more.
This is DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Join Scotty G and the coach Tuesday from 10 to 2 at My Hearing Centers, 8941 South, 700 East. Time to welcome Kevin Graham back to the show. He's had an off season to recharge, to leave all his negativity in the off season, because when it's time for football, you got to let the good times roll, Kevin.
Good morning, DJ. Talking about negativity, a couple days ago I texted you. I was driving to a doctor's appointment. I was listening on the KSL Sports Zone app to you, and I think I texted you. I'm like, dude, man, you're on fire. Your energy, you're hilarious. Today, man, it's like salty Salt Lake DJ. Like, when's PK coming back? Because I think you need to be rejuvenated after a week of solo hosting, in my opinion.
Well, it's 3 days, not a week for starters. So there's that. And Kevin, I'm a complex individual. I have many moods. And I react to the news that's in front of me. So if Greg Sankey makes me a little salty, that's on him.
I think you stayed up late doing Morgan High School football or whatever you were doing last night. So yeah,
not as late as you might think. There's a new rule. If you get a 44-point lead in the fourth quarter, the game's over. They have a mercy rule the way they do in baseball or softball.
Oh, do they really? Oh wow, well that's cool. Well, I did not know that. So that's a new thing.
Mercy me, that got out of hand.
So who mercied who then? Morgan, who was they playing in Mountain View or something?
3A Morgan made a one-handed interception on the first play of the game and returned it for a pick six, and the dam broke. There was 3 plays later, there was a fumbled shotgun snap and a 20-yard field and a short touchdown. It was 14-0 after 2.5 minutes, and yeah, it looked like Mike Tyson coming out and just, we got to end this fight in a hurry. I got to get to a movie tonight.
Nice. I do think, and I was listening to you earlier, you're talking about college football and going on about, letting these players, they go to the NFL and able to come back and play before the season and blah, blah, blah. And to your point, yeah, I understand. And you're using the analogy to how you left college and you went back. I think there's a little difference there, DJ. No offense, but you actually were paying the college to go back. Where, there's a flip here where the athletes are going back and getting paid now and possibly taking roster spots and all that. I think there's just a little bit of a discrepancy there. But I mean, how far do we want to go, DJ? Okay, if players can go to the NFL now, like let them play now in the league, and you know what? When it's time for them, instead of going to the practice squad, let's send the player back to Utah or BYU and get back on the field in mid-season. Okay, let's just keep going with it. Let's just be minor league baseball and major leagues and go that route, because I think that's great for the betterment of college football. Because everything's great for the betterment of college football right now, because the sport is just in such a wonderful position, and it's so fun following free agency all over the place and listening to the SEC and Big Ten complain about each other, who's better, which actually is kind of amusing. But let's keep growing these leagues, and let's have West teams play all the way in the Big Ten, in the Midwest, and play Rutgers, because Rutgers really needs to be in the Big Ten too, because that's awesome. So yeah, let's just keep going, expanding. You know why? Because you left school to go work for a failing radio station and then went back to pay to go back to school. So thank you very much.
Number one, who's salty now? Pot kettle. Number two.
And yet next week 0, with a bunch of stupid, dumb games will be played, and guess who will be sitting there watching every single minute? That will be me. But yes, I know what you're saying.
Me too. I'm watching it too. I've already got North Carolina and TCU on my schedule. Who else playing week 0? Number two, in that passive-aggressive answer, you called me stupid. I see what you did there. You were paying the school, DJ, because I know you, and there's no chance you were on an academic schedule or academic scholarship. You got the IQ of that chair over there, DJ. You're not getting it. Please, you were paying them. So there's that. I'm hurt.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm hurt,
yes.
man.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I mean, DJ, look, if you left school and made the decision to leave school to go work for a radio station, I'm sorry, you were not on an academic scholarship.
I did a lot of things. Well, I wasn't. That's a fact. I am stupid. I am about as bright as that chair over there. It was just the reading, the writing, and the arithmetic. The rest of it I had down cold. And let's be clear, I didn't leave school like a lot of people. I worked while I was in school. I had to pay for school. Okay. My parents helped some. I mean, they helped some. I mean, basically split it, but I still had to come up with some cash somewhere.
Well, that's good, I mean, but at college, we can argue now that college athletes, they work too, they go to school and they get paid to play their sport, that they go to school and they get a free education. But let's face it, who's really getting an education now when you're playing sports and D1 football or basketball for that matter? You're not. So, yeah, I mean, I get it. I understand what you were doing. I did the same thing as well, and it makes sense. And I think down the line we should all, I think students that are smart, they should get paid. They get an academic scholarship, but you know what? The players get scholarships. So I think if you were actually going to school and say you're a algebra major or whatever the hell you're going to major in these days, AI major, I don't know. I don't even know if algebra exists anymore. You're an AI major, you know what? And you're really good at it. Then not only should you get free schooling, but you should get paid to go get up every morning and go to class, because I think that's only fair. So, yes, we should all be paid.
Algebra exists because that's where you learn to find X, the unknown quantity. And that is just a synonym for Kevin, because when Kevin comes on this show, we are getting X, an unknown quantity. I had a whole list of questions, but like David Locke, you just grabbed the steering wheel and we're turning right, DJ. All right, buckle up, man. Where's Bowler? Remind me to buckle up.
It's only because you're being salty today. Even though I hear the Great Salt Lake is apparently dying. I don't know. Is it going up in the atmosphere or something? But yeah, you're replacing what's left of the Salt Lake. So it's good. I like it.
We refer to that as evaporation, Kevin. Going up in the air. There's a word for that. I learned it in college at UC Santa Barbara because I didn't drop out when I did radio.
Well, I went to Central Michigan University, and I didn't drop out, and yet I still don't even know what that is. So, yeah.
When the lake goes up in the air.
Just kidding. Which I didn't even think it could do because you float in it. It's so salty. I didn't even know the water could go in the air. So anyway, there we go.
Okay. Football. I have theories. I might have floated this by you, and I can't even remember if it was on the air or off the air. Every year, somebody goes from worst to first. And sometimes they go from bad to really good. I mean, Jacksonville wasn't a last-place team. They had 4 wins 2 years ago. But Tennessee was the last-place team. They only won 3. And then you fast-forward just 1 year, and there's Jacksonville winning 13. They went plus 9 wins. wow. And so we see worst to first. We see the Bears win a division. And I've got some teams here I think absolutely not, but I got some teams where I wouldn't be shocked at all. I mean, the Saints in last place, only 2 games out of first. I guess anything can happen in the NFC South. The NFC North, where 9-8, Detroit and Minnesota tie for last place, but they're only 2 games behind Chicago. Anything can happen there. But a true shocker, if I'm looking for a shocker, well, I'd go to Arizona or the Raiders because that'd be shocking. I just can't see it. They're a long way away. I want to say the Jets just to wind you up for the rest of the segment, but I won't. I won't do it. Cleveland doesn't have the quarterbacking, so either it doesn't happen this year, but if it truly happens, Washington is a 5-win team. Maybe they're healthier, but it feels like they're wobbling. I'm not feeling it. But the Giants bringing in Harbaugh, a guy who knows how to win, who stops the nonsense and gets everybody moving in one direction. If they suddenly came together, it'd be surprising. But if we're going to have an expected surprise, which is an oxymoron, another word I learned at UC Santa Barbara, it'll be the Giants then, right? If we're going to have a shock, if we can predict the shocking team, which doesn't seem right, we shouldn't be able to predict the shocking team. It has to be the Giants, doesn't it?
From a coaching standpoint, yeah. Now, will Dart step up and become, the quarterback and stay out of the tent, even though he hates the tent? Will he be able to be healthy and get through it? I think we'd have to wait and see. Plus, you know what? That division is going to be better. I mean, the Eagles, obviously, they go up and down, and the entire city either hates them or loves them, depending on each week. That's typical Philadelphia. But, will Jalen Hurts be able to step up with the new offensive coordinator and Sean Mannion? So I have to think Philadelphia's in the mix. And I hate to say this because I despise this team and always have since the day I was born, but the Dallas Cowboys seem to be getting their stuff together. So it seems to me, depending on health and whether that defense can actually become the semblance of an okay defense, and if they can continue offensively to put up the points and yards that they did a year ago, I think the Cowboys are going to be really good. So yes, I think the Giants are going to improve, but I don't know if they're going to go worst to first. I don't really see that happening. I think the obvious one is what you said. It's either Detroit or the Vikings. I guess I'd probably more lean towards Detroit if they can stay healthy. And offensively they can get it back together now after losing Johnson to the Bears, because again they were a decent team last year at 9-8. I think the Saints can be better if Shuck, which is amazing to me that SHOUGH is Shuck, whether or not he could actually continue to develop. He was actually, I heard you tease like sleepers. He could be a sleeper quarterback for fantasy football leagues because he actually played pretty well the last half of the season last year and was one amongst, I think, the top 10 quarterbacks in the league from a point perspective. So the Saints could possibly, make a little bit of a move there just because that division is so bad. I'm based in Charlotte now. I follow the Carolina Panthers a little bit. I listen to sports radio and listen to them. There's so many injuries and they're so bad right now in the preseason. I mean, they won the division at 8-9 last year. So, that could be, I think Tampa Bay, anytime you put a quarterback like Baker Mayfield, in a contract year and he's ticked off, he could have an excellent year and it could really honestly be Tampa Bay's division in my opinion. But that's the beauty of the league. Again, what's the schedule going to dictate? I haven't analyzed every single schedule. New England, as I brought up 9 million times, was kind of a farce last year because they had such an easy schedule to play. And then everything lined up for them in the playoffs with injuries for the other teams and bad offenses that played and everything else. You got to put the schedule into play. And then obviously, too, we don't know what the injury situation is going to be for these various teams as they go through the season. So, again, the beauty of the NFL, something we can't say always about college football. Yes, college football now we can argue that the top 10, 15 teams all can arguably have a chance to get into the playoffs and actually win a national championship because of NIL and everything else. But you have all those bottom feeders that have no chance at all, where in the NFL, as we saw a year ago, some of those bottom feeders can rise up and actually be a factor in the NFL, which makes the league, as great as it is.
The Steelers have made the coaching change, but they're still ham and egging at a quarterback there with Aaron Rodgers. So that division looks pretty open. The Bengals maybe going from 6 wins. They're a third-place team. They're not a last-place team. The Ravens with the coaching change, maybe a new face, a new voice. Maybe that helps them going forward, but I feel like the Ravens are aging.
I agree.
The Ravens, the Bills, The Lions, I know any of them could do it this year, but I feel like they better hurry up and do it because they've all been up for a while, and these windows, like 3 to 4 years is a long time to be good. I'm ignoring your Eagles slander. I don't have any emotional attachment to them, but they're up and down. They've been in the playoffs 8 out of 9 years, and the year they missed was 2020, which was bizarro with COVID and how you could practice, and there were no fans. And so if you're going to miss one time in 9 years, that's the year to miss. So you got an easy explanation. So I'll ignore your Eagles slander there, but I do feel like it's on for these other teams. They're probably getting near the end of the window. Put the 49ers in that group. It's like
injuries, man.
Yeah,
there's so many injuries.
The date on that cheese is about to expire here. You're going to pull it out of the fridge. There's going to be something green growing on it.
Yeah, go back to Baltimore. I think it all goes on Lamar Jackson. I think they're a playoff team. Now the question is, can he actually rise up and win the big games in the playoffs that he has not been able to do in his career? It'll be interesting to see because, they have a new offensive coordinator there. He's a 30-year-old dude named Clan Doyle. He held the play sheet for Ben Johnson a year ago, so obviously there's some hype building around him. Now, let me remind you this. The offensive coordinator or the guy that held the play sheet for Ben Johnson the year before was a guy named Tanner Engstrand, and Engstrand was fired after 1 year as offensive coordinator with the New York Jets. So just because you hold the play sheet with Johnson doesn't mean you're actually going to be a great OC. But Baltimore, you're right, with the new coach. Defensively they're going to be there. Offensively, with this new OC, can they get the max out of Jackson? Can they run the ball enough like they should because they have the weapons, from a running game perspective, even though Henry's getting old, but still he can produce. So, I don't know. I like Baltimore. Pittsburgh's going to be fun to watch just because it will be Rodgers' final year. He has he's re-energized. He has come back together with his former head coach to the glory days in Green Bay. So I will be curious to see how the Steelers watch. And to your point on the Bengals, it really comes down to the health of Burrows. Can he stay healthy? Can the offensive line protect him? And can the defense, kind of like the Cowboys we talked about earlier, can they actually stop someone for a change? If those three things happen, then I think the Bengals are a factor as well. So it's going to be fun, man. I'm so excited. I mean, we're still a few weeks away, but the NFL season is coming quickly, and I'm very excited to see how it's all going to play out.
What do you think of the Lions? Because if there is a star-crossed fan base, those poor people. I mean, 60 years. Could you get to a Super Bowl? Please?
I know.
One?
I know.
You could lose it.
Yeah.
Just get there.
Yeah, and it's really sad because, my brother and I, we grew up in West Virginia. We could have picked any teams to root for, and I picked the Jets, and I've been miserable and angry and basically a terrible human ever since because of them. My brother, when he was young, we moved to Detroit, and he became a Lions fan. So, he's actually happy being a Lions fan. I don't know why, only because maybe they've won recently, so that's a positive for them. But they're a jinx franchise, much like the Jets, much like the Browns. Everything that could go wrong at the wrong moments actually happened. Look what happened a couple years ago when they're in the championship game and had a lead against the Niners and totally blew it and screwed that game up and ended up not going to the Super Bowl. And then last year we saw that they took a step back. To me, it's whether you have enough faith in Goff. And I don't know if I do. I think he is a very good, solid quarterback. But is he that QB that can take you to the Super Bowl? I think what we can look at is arguably the best coach in the NFL right now, McVay with the Rams. He didn't think so, and he traded, and he got Stafford. And guess what the Rams did with Stafford? They won a Super Bowl. So I don't have 100% confidence that Goff is a Super Bowl winning quarterback. He seems to go in a shell at the wrong times, seems to make mistakes at the wrong times. And then, of course, you talk about the curse. I mean, look how many injuries the Lions always have. I mean, Aaron Glenn got the Jets coaching job last year because he took a defense that had like 10 starters hurt and somehow made it and patched it together to be a very good or at least a decent defense that got the Lions into the position to actually have a chance to get to the Super Bowl. So I just think certain franchises are jinxed. And unfortunately, if any of your fans out there listening are Lions fans, I don't think you're going to see a Super Bowl in your lifetime. Quite likely, much like I'm never going to see the Jets in a Super Bowl in my lifetime. How's that for positivity?
Pretty salty.
Exactly.
Man, we're past pot and kettle,
use
man.
The facts. Just use the facts, Just look at the facts of the franchises we're dealing with here. It's not going to happen. It's just not there. If I was a betting man, if I could bet on in my lifetime, because I like to put $3 or $5 down on something every once in a while, I would bet that the Lions and Jets will never make the Super Bowl in my lifetime. Now, the problem is I won't get that payout. It'd actually be the first bet I'll ever win in my life, and I won't get the payout because I'll be dead. So there.
Now that's salty. You just killed yourself right on the air. You just whacked it. What are you doing? Nostradamus forecasts his own doom.
I know.
What are
there
you
you
doing?
go. Hey, I'm dying. We're all dying, DJ. Just like the Great Salt Lake, it happens.
You're going up in the air. You can say that, but the Kansas City Chiefs won one playoff game in 50 years. They were a 1 seed and flamed out in the playoffs. They could not get it right after the AFL-NFL merger. They won the last game, the Super Bowl before the merger. They did it. They got to the mountaintop. They didn't do anything. And then they bring in Andy Reid, and he turns them into a playoff team because he knows how to get a team into the top quarter of the league and keep them there. And then he has Mahomes. Boom! Multiple Super Bowls, multiple Super Bowl wins. Everybody in Philly would have bet against us. I mean, they were whining and go, why can't we have nice things? Because they kept losing the NFC title game. And when they let him go, they win Super Bowls too. They've won a couple without him. It's the most amazing thing. I don't know why you say never in sports. Crazy things happen. I would have made as many $3 and $5 bets as you wanted. Really? $3 and $5 bets? Well, we have to get to that. We have to get to that.
I wish I had money. I don't have the money you have, DJ. But yes, continue.
Nice.
Hey, I'm just replacing PK for the day.
I'm placing $0 bets over here. But I would have never expected Philly. When they fired Andy Reid, I'm just scratching my head. And when I hear there's multiple planes on the tarmac waiting to fly him away because NFL teams cannot wait to get a hold of him. And then he has the job interview and he just said, it was just too much. I was trying to be GM and coach. That was a bridge too far. It's like, man, you can even self-diagnose, right? It's just like, I need to have a big say in personnel, but I don't need to be I need to be in the room. I don't need to sit at the head of the table. And he figures it out, and holy cow, look at him. I mean, Andy Reid is now, for all the heat he took, at poor clock management, Andy can't do math, all the stuff we heard in Philly. Like, you tell me right now, Andy is in a top 5, maybe even top 3 coach in NFL history. Any way you slice it, like most regular season wins, most Super Bowls, most Super Bowl appearances or championships, most playoff wins. Just on down the list, he's like top 3, 4, 5 in everything.
Yeah, and you know what? But one name, Patrick Mahomes. He won Super Bowls once he finally got Patrick Mahomes, who they traded up to get. Huh. Yeah, I mean, I know. It's amazing how that works.
What?
By the way, it's the same thing with the Eagles. Why did the Eagles win a Super Bowl? They have Howie Roseman, who's a general manager, and if you look at his history and all the moves he made to assemble that team, I mean, it's pretty amazing. I mean, that's what you need. You need great players, but you also need great management, which stems from great ownership. Again, teams like the Lions and the Jets, as we talked about teams that are jinxed, they have terrible ownership. They've had terrible ownership. Lions have gotten a little bit better in their ownership, only because it took I don't want to get dark, but, because I've only been dark enough, but it took multiple Fords to actually pass away for them finally to find the right Ford.
It really did. Now you're just telling the truth. It did.
Am I true? Exactly. So they finally found the right Ford that would actually hire good people and step aside and let those good people assemble the team properly and get a decent coach and put a nice mindset into play and a good culture, we overuse that word, but a good culture, and they're finally now a decent organization. Same thing with the Chiefs. They got Andy Reid, but then they had Patrick Mahomes. They always had pretty stable ownership in the Hunt family. And you know what? They put it together, and he's won. And he's going to go to the Hall of Fame, no doubt. Should be first ballot Hall of Famer as a coach. And, and I'm not writing him off. I think the same thing is with the Chiefs because they are kind of going on the downfall a little bit, but they have to rebuild. I mean, Mahomes is not that old, and Mahomes is still great when he's healthy, and that'll be a big key of how much, how is he going to be when he's fully back coming off the injury from last year. But they have a good base, and the other thing they've always been able to do, it seems, is pluck those newcomers. They almost kind of take the approach of Belichick with Brady, where Belichick would not always give Brady the best wide receivers, but he would get the right receivers to fit the system they were running, and Brady, as we know, is the GOAT. Well, same thing that Kansas City has done for the most part with Mahomes. They find those players that will connect with Mahomes, and they won Super Bowls that way. Now, they haven't been able to do it as of late, or at least last year, but they do have some talented players that are in the mix right now that if you read, and again, it's preseason, I don't know what you can believe in preseason, but it shows that they're building talent around him again, and if they can protect him, and if he can be healthy, and and all the things come in play, Reed knows what he's doing, and he's a great coach. Then the Chiefs are going to be right in the mix too. I do believe though the Broncos, and I hate to say this because I despise the Broncos, but I do think the Broncos are the best team in that division, and it's going to be a tough putt for Kansas City to overcome them. But I don't think we're going to see the Chiefs. I would not be surprised if the Chiefs are in the playoffs again after having such the horrendous year they had a year ago.
I believe the Broncos should be the favorite in the AFC. I don't think they're a slam dunk. I wouldn't give them a better than 50% chance of they're just the leader. It's not, It's not a runaway. But I do think getting Nick's healthy, as good as that defense is, to have a veteran coach with that kind of experience and that kind of track record, I think Denver's got to be the favorite. However, Buffalo is clearly in the mix, just riding on the greatness of their quarterback. Houston is in the mix, riding on the greatness of their defense. There are other really good teams, and if someone's coming out of nowhere, maybe it is Joe Burrow, and maybe it is the Bengals. We'll have to see with that. But
but on paper, DJ, you're right. I mean, and again, anything can change. Injuries are a huge factor. We always have to play and put that in consideration. We saw what happened with the Broncos last year when they lost the Knicks in the playoffs. They could have been in the Super Bowl, and quite frankly, I think they were better in New England and should have been in the Super Bowl. So, but on paper, 100% agree with you. Broncos are number one in AFC. Number two, probably the Bills. And in the NFC, it's the same thing. Number one's the Rams based on talent, and number two, right behind them, is Seattle. I mean, those are the four I think we have to watch and look towards as the favorites going into the season. But, it's a 17-game regular season.
Rank your top teams in the NFC for me.
I put Rams 1 and Seahawks 2.
Okay.
Those would be my top two right now.
Right. So no change.
And then maybe follow. What's that?
No. Well, you're changing the top. They are the top two. You're flipping 1 and 2 because last year Seattle beat the Rams in the NFC title game.
I agree. But I just think, again, if you look on paper, the amount of talent they have, you look at coaching, and you're right, Seattle won the Super Bowl. I still have that, I don't know how many people are still waiting for Darnold to revert back to his Jets days since I was there for that. But I don't think that's going to happen. But I also, though, believe that Darnold replicating what he did a year ago would be – I don't know. I don't see it. I think he'll be a good quarterback. I have to admit that he is a good quarterback. He's a freaking Super Bowl winning quarterback. So, but I do think Rams-wise, especially if Aaron Darnold will come back, which I assume he will because he's only been working out he's been working out, it seems like, every other day with the Rams. I just think the Rams, talent-wise, are the better team, and obviously they have a great coach as well.
All right, we'll let you go with this breaking news.
Yes.
I can now confirm that this is Bear Bachmeier's last year at BYU, who will be replaced next year by 43-year-old Aaron Rodgers. Don't worry, Ute fans.
College eligibility left?
Don't worry, Ute fans.
Left.
Yeah. He's going to go to court. It'll work. He'll take the judge on a darkness retreat, and he'll win in court.
He'll be the next Jim McMahon of BYU.
It's okay. It's okay, you fans, because even though Bert Ficklin's going to transfer out and Dan Pierre's going to transfer out, Tom Brady's coming. We're going to have storylines.
That's
we
right.
have the oldest quarterback. We've had a lot of old players here. Let's just have a couple more old quarterbacks.
Oh, yeah.
No
you know what? And Utah will be in great shape because they're going to recoup their $400,000 plus $1 million in damages from Fred Whittingham. So they're going to be in great shape, too. So, yeah, that'll be awesome.
Yeah, there'll be a settlement there. We'll never get to discovery. We get all kinds of juicy questions and juicy answers and stuff we want, so we know it won't happen.
It's all dumb, man. Why even put it in the media? I mean, and why ask for $1 million?
Well, I don't think you can keep it up.
Make the call in Michigan, and they'll pay you the $400,000. Give me a break. Why bring all this back up? I mean, there's going to be enough of this going on for Utah anyways, with comparisons of Morgan Scalley and Kyle Whittingham. If you're Utah, and if you're the Utah administration, let it go. You screwed up. You let Whittingham go. He took millions of dollars from you. Let it go and move forward. It's not hard. That's
not going to happen. There's super hard feelings. And we can sit here and say there's hard feelings and people don't really believe us. People don't believe us because we're the media. But Kevin, You're in Charlotte, and I suspect you know their hard feelings. And I think you just spelled out how everybody should be able to confirm it. You can't keep it quiet. Once you file a lawsuit, there's reporters who...
You didn't have to file a lawsuit. It's not hard to collect $400,000 from Michigan. It's not hard.
It is if there's hard feelings.
Dude, I almost pay that much to have my daughter go there. It's not hard to collect money, and I have no money. So, yes, I'm just saying.
It might be hard, Kevin. There's hard feelings. And the hard feelings run both ways.
I know. It's going to be so fun. I'm envious of you guys in covering this football season. And by the way, ADs in Utah, sorry, I'm just going to throw salvos out. Just pipe down, both of you guys. Seriously, you're not the program. You're the caretaker of the program. Do what's right by your program and by your fans. Get your ego, put it aside. Move forward. That's what good management people do. Listen to all those management podcasts, okay? Put your ego to the side and run your programs for the benefit of your program and your fans. And, oh, by the way, BYU, your program is football. Basketball's great. It's football. Give Kalani what he wants. Otherwise, he's gone next year, just like Whittingham is gone this year for Utah.
Well, now, Kevin, we need to bring you back after the break if you want to weigh in on what's going on at BYU, because there's a lot to say there. Now, do you have somewhere to go, or do you want to come back after the break?
No, dude, let's keep going. I got nothing to do. I'm semi-retired. What the hell?
We got to take a break. We got to take a break, and we'll come back and we'll get into Kevin, because Kevin just, again, grabbed the wheel. We're taking a right turn. We're going down Athletic Director Boulevard. I've been down this street before. I'm gonna get a ticket from the cops for cruising.
I'm gonna get a DJ lecture on the other side. Stay tuned, everybody. How's that for the tease?
We're salty when we come back on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.